Welcome to what is hopefully the last virtual Microsoft Ignite session we have to do. And next year we can do this in person. My name is Gabe Knuth, and I'm joined by Terry Vaughn. And we're here to talk about VMware Horizon and the power that it brings when you use it in conjunction with Microsoft Azure. Terry, this has been a pretty hot topic lately for us, huh?
It's been amazing. I've been in the virtual desktop space for 13 or 14 years, and every year for the last 13 or 14, we said, this is going to be the year of VDI.
Yeah.
Guess what? Nothing like a good pandemic to make that reality come true. And the last 2 years, I've been pretty much dedicated to working with Microsoft, and the explosion of these capabilities it's been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the year of VDI kind of became a running joke for me in my career. And so people kept asking, was last year the year of VDI? And I actually like to say, it's not really a joking kind of situation. So what I like to say is that instead of it being the year of VDI, I like to say that this is 2020, 2021. This is the year that the world needed VDI, and VDI was up to the challenge. And speaking of challenges, there's so many of them that come along with any normal desktop virtualization project, right? People are using desktop virtualization to solve many problems within an organization, but a lot of those things were nice to haves in the past, and nowadays they're required, like remote work, for example.
Yeah, I know we were actually adjusting the slide a little bit earlier today, and it said something about remote work and optional or something like that. It's required. Almost all the customers you talk to that, we're going on 2 years now, and it's not going to, that's going to end. We're going to get our lives back, but the way in which we work has changed. The way in which we hire employees has changed. Where people, they want to live places they want to live. So remote work, and there's going to be somewhere between 40 and 60% of our workforces, they're never coming back to the office again. And everything we did a couple of years ago just to be able to make that happen in an emergency situation, now it's strained everything that we all had, right? We don't have enough servers. We don't have enough monies in capital budgets versus OpEx budgets. And now people...
we don't have enough chips. Right. We don't have a number of things that we need to pull this stuff off, especially with the resources that we had going into this. And so... how are companies going to cope with all of this? And yeah, it's not even just working from home. It's working from anywhere nowadays. It started as working from home. And now as we start to see some people trying to head back to the workplace, some are, some aren't. We don't know where people are working from anymore. And so we have to be able to support them in any one of these situations.
Yeah, I think the key thing here is how do we do that? I don't look at this, these are challenges. I look at this as a problem statement. And what Gabe and I are going to talk about today is, how do we help you with that problem statement? The key here is we want you to understand, I used to work with a guy from Disney, and Disney would always say, it's about choice. And our jobs is about choice here. These trees look pretty formidable, but we're going to basically give you some options today of things that you can do. And there's things here that you cannot get from any other pair of companies in the world. Besides Microsoft and VMware. And you're going to walk away from here seeing that you have options and choices.
Yeah. And that's honestly, so, if you've heard us speak about Horizon and Azure before, you've heard us speak about probably Horizon Cloud and Microsoft Azure and Azure Virtual Desktop and things like that. But the reality is VMware has a couple of different offerings within Microsoft Azure that allow us to be extraordinarily flexible while providing the same value from a Horizon perspective. But we get to align the way that you do desktop virtualization with the goals that you have as an organization. And so we kind of use these 4 buckets here: rehost, extend, replace, and rebuild, just to sort of loosely group the strategies that we talk to customers about. And then we tried to map that to our different offerings that we have. And what we've come up with is a solution for wherever you are in your journey to either leverage the cloud, to expand to the cloud, to move to the cloud, or migrate to the cloud, to leverage a hybrid scenario. We have something across the board that can be helpful.
The reason I like this slide so much is, everybody's in a different spot on their journey. In your life, in the IT world, and how you support your businesses. People talked about, well, I'm going to rewrite all my applications. We all know that didn't work too well, right? It's not possible.
Right.
But
those ones that were easy to rewrite have been rewritten.
Long time
and now
ago.
We're stuck with the rest of them. Yeah.
And then, some of you are having to vacate data centers, for certain reasons. So when you have to vacate data centers, or you're rewriting apps, or you're maintaining legacy apps, you may need to just lift and shift some of your stuff to the cloud. You may need to extend to the cloud. You may need to fully modernize to take advantages of all the innovations of the companies, Microsoft and VMware. And we're going to basically say, hey, you've got choice. You can have your cake and eat it too in this situation.
Yeah, and that kind of leads us to the next topic here, which is hybridity, because it's very difficult to flip a switch and move. Even if you wanted to move all your resources from on-premises to the cloud, it's very difficult to flip a switch and do that overnight. And so when we talk about hybridity, we talk about this in the context of a migration or just a general way of doing business, bursting workloads, expanding to the cloud as needed. But at VMware, it's important to us that we're able to kind of have an overarching view from a management and user environment perspective across all the different places where you can deploy Horizon. And in this situation related to VMware and Microsoft, we're talking about Horizon on premises on VMware vSphere, Horizon in the Microsoft Azure VMware Solution, which is vSphere as a service, basically through your Microsoft Azure portal, and then Horizon Cloud, which is native, Horizon running natively in Microsoft Azure, that also has the features of Azure Virtual Desktop.
Yeah, please don't think of this as an either or situation. And Gabe, I think you're going to roll to the next part of the slide here.
Yeah,
we've got abilities that wrap around all of this. You're going to put your workloads where your workloads need to be. You've got a developer in India, and that VM needs to sit there. That developer in India needs to do UAT testing in the States, but he or she needs that part-time. You want to co-locate that stuff. It's no longer the days are, well, I've got a desktop or a laptop, VDI 1.0. I stick that in the cloud, and we mysteriously thought that was going to be less expensive. We all know it didn't work, right? We also know it doesn't work to put 100% of the stuff in the cloud. It doesn't work. But take a portfolio. Take your estate. You've got developers. They need multiple machines at certain times. You've got task workers. Different people at different times. You look at it as a portfolio. Take a portion of your portfolio and put it in all of these locations. It helps diversify risk. It helps you get the user experience closer to the user or closer to the apps and the data. VDI to me is an enabler for change in your company. And because we have this portfolio, where you put it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. And there's technical differences between these that we don't have time to get into. We're happy to in a deeper dive kind of scenario, but our point here is that we have the flexibility to meet you wherever you need to be to support all the different use cases and workloads. And it's not that you have to pick one or the other. You can blend all of these together. And in fact, we like to visualize it like this, where we talk about the best proportions of each of those three platforms on premises, in Horizon on Azure VMware Solution, or with Horizon Cloud and Azure Virtual Desktop, as a balance between cost, time to value, and degree of change. And it's all, in this case, we're comparing it to business as usual. And so what we chose to do for this session, just because we have such a time limit on it, was to show it in this way. And so the first one we can take a look at here is if time to value and degree of change are the most important things to your organization, well, we can help with that by using a combination of on-premises VMware Horizon and Horizon on the Azure VMware Solution. Terry, we've got a lot of options there, actually, a couple different ones, a couple different ways to leverage AVS.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, I tell everybody, if you want to change next to nothing, get your Azure subscription, get your Express route, and connect your Horizon on-premise enterprise to the cloud, burst yourself in there. You're changing nothing. You're not changing your request management, your incident management. You're not changing your monitoring. And therefore, since you're not changing all those processes and procedures and the things it takes to support these environments, your time to value is going to be incredibly fast. Your learning curve is incredibly fast.
Yeah, and to be clear, this is the same Horizon that you run on premises, running on VMware SDDC, except now Microsoft is delivering the VMware vSphere. That's the software defined data center components, vSphere, NSX, things like that. Microsoft is delivering those as part of an Azure service, and you're just installing Horizon as a workload on top of that. And that means you can co-locate it with other vSphere based workloads, but get it out of your data center up into the cloud. And then you get to take advantage of all of that, as well as leveraging any Azure investments that you already have.
Yeah, and your AVS and Microsoft data centers are just an extension of your data center at that point, and that's all it is. People talk about cloud as being, there's a lot of other stuff because it's in the cloud, because it's in Azure. You get access to all the native services that exist up there. Your apps teams are using, your data center teams are using. So now we're going to contrast that with, and I always like this conversation with executives. They say, and they go, I know this game. You're going to give me 3 levers, but I can only pull 2. Correct. Because your boss always comes to you and he says, I want all 3. Well, you don't get it that way. If you're focused 100% on cost, the way to get there, the only place in the world and the way to get there is multi-session virtual desktops, apps from Microsoft. That is the best density from a cost perspective. It's leaning out. You're using stuff as you need it. It's truly a consumption model. You're not leaving anything on the table from a cost perspective. And you're using what you need to use when you need to use it. Now, does every use case fit into that multi-session? No. You got call centers that need IP addresses. You got developers that have to install apps. We have ways around some of that. Some of it we don't. And we know the limitations of these platforms, which things fit best where. Good news is you can have all of it.
Yeah, Linux workloads run in AVS, Horizon on AVS, GPU workloads run in Horizon Cloud on Azure, and there's lots of different things like that, but those are 2 easy ones to point out. And when Terry's saying multi-session, we're talking about Windows 10 multi-session, one of the main features of Azure Virtual Desktop. And it's being able to deliver a multi-session. We used to call this RDSH desktop, but it was a Windows Server OS at the time. Being able to deliver that as an actual Windows 10 operating system that's shared by multiple users at the same time, that simplifies application management. That makes the user interface more normal looking to the end users. And like Terry was saying, there is no cheaper way to deliver Windows 10 experiences from the cloud. And when you add in all the value of Horizon on top of that, it's a real no-brainer.
Yeah, I try to get Gabe and everybody not to say those 3 letters, RDSH. 4 letters, whatever it is. because those are all fake ways of doing it. And now we have the real way of doing it. And that's
exactly it.
Part.
Yeah. So ultimately, your needs will dictate which of these platforms you use, and which of these make the most sense. And the cool thing is that you're not picking, as Terry mentioned earlier, you're not picking one or the other. You can use any one of these things in whichever configuration you want. So it's really on premises and Horizon on Azure VMware Solution and Horizon Cloud with Windows Virtual Desktop or Azure Virtual Desktop. See, we haven't gotten that out of these slides yet, have we?
There you go.
So we
got a couple things. Obviously, what we showed on the slide was all the tools and the technology that we've built. It's part of our licensing schemes these days to basically make this so that this looks complex potentially, having things and workloads in multiple areas, but we've simplified that journey and the ability to get that up and running. And the good news is, your Horizon customers, you know how to spell this stuff. It looks the same. And that's the best part about it. The learning curve is small. Obviously, we've got other customers coming to us because we have these capabilities. So, look forward to going with them.
Well, and yeah, so and as it relates to VMware Horizon, it's hard to have a conversation about Horizon without talking about all the awesome features that come with Horizon that provide value to customers. We don't have anywhere near enough time to go through all of these. This slide could take an hour all by itself, but I wanted to point out a few things. Number one is on the far left, removing the need for third-party tools. For example, we add user environment management capabilities on top of what you get with FS Logics. FS Logics is by far the standard for profile redirection and roaming profiles and Outlook data roaming and things like that. But, and so our dynamic environment manager works with that, but adds in user environment management capabilities like application settings, policies, privilege elevation, things like that. We also have App Volumes, which is centralized application packaging and management so that you can package an application one time and deploy it to any of the platforms that we've been talking about, on-prem or to Azure platforms. And it also...
Good point that Gabe about App Volumes, and it says MSXI attached. Our two teams have been working together. Our development groups have been working together for 2+ years now. So App Volumes works with MSXIX. Great capability, just like our environment manager works with FS Logics. The teams have been working together hard, for the last, 3+ years. We already talked about hybrid architecture. We talked about that, throughout the first several slides here. The one I like to talk about is the optimized teams, audio and video. We literally ran into a situation earlier this year, very, very large customer. They were headed down the native, Azure Virtual Desktop path. They were baking off our two solutions, which, some customers need to do that. Like we used to bake off Citrix and VMware. There's bake-offs going on all over the place still these days. In this particular case, we literally, the teams, Microsoft's development team for Teams, VMware's development teams for our client and broker and agent capabilities. We basically have determined it's better, faster, a better user experience to run Teams with Horizon and those capabilities with Microsoft Teams. So it can run better than the native answer, just because of some capabilities that we have inside of our product. So there's an example of better together.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And actually, you know what the best example of better together is? These amazing customer wins that we've had, these amazing experiences that we've had. My favorite two that I like to talk about are the two on the left. I'll take the large insurance firm. I'll let you take the environmental services company. From this large insurance firm was immediately a COVID reaction. So this company, they had 30,000 remote agents that were 35,000 agents that worked out of branch offices. And they all had to work from home once the pandemic happened. These folks, they had no desktop virtualization already. And so when this happened, this company called VMware, called Microsoft, called their partner and said, we have to do this and we have to do it now. And with the help of all of the people, VMware, Microsoft, the partner and the customer, we were able to come up with a solution that allowed us to deploy 35,000 virtual desktops in 5 days. And there is no way any company could have acquired the hardware, racked it, stacked it, powered it, cooled it in that amount of time. I mean, that would take months and months to deploy something like that on premises. But the power of Horizon, the power of Microsoft, and that allowed us to do that scale and that speed at the same time.
And as Gabe said, the environmental services company is my favorite. In fact, several weeks ago, back at VMworld, you can go watch the session between the CEOs of Microsoft and VMware, and they talked about the company. I won't say the name here, but they were able to say the name. That particular company, because of COVID, their call center agents could not go into an office, a physical building. It worked so well. The user experience was so good. They basically are not going back. They're going to allow their people to work from home. They've sold the building that the call center was in.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to evacuate their data center. So now they're implementing for their developers Horizon on Azure VMware Solutions AVS, and that's going to help them evacuate their data center. So great example.
They're a perfect and solution. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, okay, we've got like a minute and a half left, maybe even a little bit less than that. What are the next steps here? So step one, in order to take advantage of all of these Horizon capabilities, if you're an existing Horizon perpetual customer, you've got to upgrade to the Horizon subscription. We call these things SaaS or term, but you want the Horizon SaaS, which is Horizon Universal License. That entitles you to all of the platforms that we're talking about and all of the awesome features of VMware Horizon. And then step two, Terry, is, we can do a proof of concept or a pilot that can help take you through these things as part of a strategic workshop kind of initiative.
Yeah, some people want to learn more before they get going on this. The technologies cloud is there for you to put your hands on the steering wheel. We like to get that done very fast. We've got free licensing from a trial perspective. Click the button here and you'll go get the free trial. We've got teams that turn people up in a day or 2 weeks, depending on the challenges they have, with their networking and things like that. But we've got all the capabilities in the world. We've got dedicated staff to help you get up and running. Put your hands on the keyboard. Try it out.
Exactly. Well, that wraps it up for us. We crammed a lot of stuff into a very short period of time, but thank you very much for watching. Terry, thanks for helping out. We'll hopefully see you in person next time.
All right. Take care. Appreciate y'all. Take care.